An Australia without rugby league is not Australia. Rugby league has been a fabric of our society for hundreds of years. It's people's escape, it's people's relaxation, and we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of rugby league.
It has been those Australians who have worked hard every day. They have their dreams, they have their aspirations. These are the quiet Australians who have won a great victory tonight.
And we represent you. We are Fire Up the Quiet Australia. We represent every single one of you, multiplied by how many of us? 4 or 5 of us in the room. Is how many? 20 million people?
I think it's about 26 now, isn't it?
Is it 26 million?
Yep.
And is it Daffy or Donald Duck who say, be very, very quiet?
No, that's Elmer Fudd, actually.
Elmer Fudd, there you go. Just testing
It's
you.
wabbit hunting season.
Wabbit hunting. Duck hunting. Okay, wabbit hunting. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is anywhere. Kris Gale, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Stephen. It's wonderful to be here.
Dennis Carnahan, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you too, Stephen. And lovely to see you, Kris.
And lovely to see you too, Kris. And our special guest today, Greg Cross. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're very good at intros, Kris. Unlike myself, I fumble around a bit. Would you like to sort of give a bit of a backstory for Greg? And we'll be talking to Greg in depth in a little while.
I think we can only describe Greg as rugby league royalty. The man has played first grade football for Manly Ringer Sea Eagles, but we'll forgive him that.
You call him a Renaissance man?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Retro man.
And we'll hear at what level he played for Manly, a very high level later on in the show. His brother Peter played 90 games for the North Sydney Bears.
Yep.
And his father Barry was a first grade referee and touch judge to the Stars. Barry very sadly left us a few weeks ago, and we extend our sympathy to you and your family, Greg. But he was clearly a revered man in the rugby league community. And the really exciting thing about Greg is he's played first grade rugby league.
Yes.
And he listens to Fire Up.
Guess what? We haven't.
We haven't. It's your game, Greg.
It's a
not
thinking
our
man's
game.
program. Oh,
Yeah. Now, we will get you in detail, but one question I want to start with is how do you handle the hate, Greg?
oh yes, it was. We played at Cumberland Oval once. It was quite hard. I noticed Rex Moss, who was a Manly supporter, had his car trashed. His
Is that right? Was any culprit caught?
his RX-7.
Doesn't it make sense that Rex is in an RX-7?
RX, yeah.
I'm
Beautiful.
getting a picture of Rex. We're going to build up this picture in detail later. So let's get into rugby league this week. I think Kris and Dennis, Greg, we can all agree that the cracks are showing in rugby league. The great vision of the Overlord of Landis, PVL, the man who could fix any problem, even himself is showing some strain at this point in time.
There's no doubt about it, Stephen. We give all due homage to the great Overlord for Resumption Day, 28 May. The competition beamed around the world, being consumed by everyone and every
Rainbows,
continent.
unicorns,
100%.
light at the end of the tunnel, etc.
But there were a couple of issues. First of all, I don't think the idea of creating a bubble was a great idea because if any child will tell you, any under 7 will tell you, Stephen, that, when you make a bubble and you can pop it and it bursts.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't hover in different shapes for long. It bursts.
So something like a Biodyne might have made out of titanium might have been a better idea.
You've seen Jim Carrey in The Truman Show.
Yes.
All he wanted to do was get out. He didn't believe it was fantasy, it was perfect. He just wanted to find a way out to find reality, correct?
Because you're trapped, and when you get to a certain point and the motivation is no longer there, I think what the Overlord PVL, the Black Prince himself, failed to recognise was once you're out of mathematical calculation for the semi-finals as a rugby league player,
You don't care.
You do not care.
No.
Just want to pick up
You're
on
thinking of a
the
Mad Monday down the track.
That's right.
the Black Prince. Now, the Black Prince, normally that's referred to as Beelzebub. Haven't we established that's Cameron Smith? Or are you calling him Mr. Carter?
Wasn't there a cricket player called the Black Prince? Brian Lara? Was he the Black Prince?
Not sure about that.
I don't know. But normally that's going to be the... He was. There you go. I think the Overlord's sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they're sort of merging into one for mine.
But he showed a big snap this week, didn't he, Kris?
Well, look, I think that probably where you first sort of seeing the bubble starting to fracture, if a bubble can indeed fracture, was, funnily enough, the most successful team in rugby league right now, the Penny Panthers, who rolled over Denis's Canberra Raiders as though they were just a mere speed bump.
Not even.
Yeah.
Like an ineffective speed bump.
You're very gracious there, Denis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the truth.
Yeah.
And the most, I think, a new candidate for the most hated man in rugby league, Ivan Cleary.
Yeah, this is because though you're a Tigers fan,
Yes.
and he pointed to your scoreboard,
Yeah.
and he blew you a kiss.
Yeah,
so this
and,
is
and hating Ivan Cleary is about as much as hating James Tedesco, which you don't do.
No. James Tedesco, I completely understand. But Ivan Cleary told us to get on the bus, and then he got out at Penrith Stadium.
I do wonder about Ivan Cleary though. I think we've established long on this show that rugby league is about losing. Because 15 teams lose, 1 win.
Correct.
It's about hate, because everyone hates each other.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, I think there's a problem psychologically with rugby league coaches. They don't know how to deal with winning. Trent Robinson after the grand final last year. You guys don't love us. The 6 again call, they got that right. When he hit the trainer, it should have been taken.
Yeah.
He's complaining.
Shut
He's
up.
whining
Yeah.
after winning. Again, we have him here. We have a winning coach. He doesn't know how to deal with winning. He only knows how to bitch and whine when he loses. So what does he do when he's winning on top of the ladder, clear on top of the ladder? He whines. Oh, they were mess up. What was he saying?
Well, we'll hear it in a moment. But the mindset of Cleary was, I think, a stroke of evil genius, which is the best time to complain is when you've touched up the opposition.
Yep.
And let's face it, Greg,
That's
they
right.
got touched up badly, the Canberra Raiders, didn't they?
Sure did.
And so he thought my opportunity to undermine nothing more venerable an institution that your father was a great representative of, Greg, the referee,
Venerable institution, I love that, Chris.
is
I
in
had to
the
live with him.
Rocks at the window, Greg.
I went deaf from the whistle sounds. Yeah, I've got to get the hearing aid shortly.
if your room was untidy, were you put in the bin? I mean,
No, my clothes were.
and so he positions his attack on the referees at the time, where he can't be criticised for whinging because they've had a win. Now, he has launched what has been described by Peter V'landys as a vicious, unwarranted attack on the referees. Now, if you've got young children, I suggest you get them out of the room because we've got the audio of Ivan,
Even 7-year-olds.
even under sevens, blowing up right now.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like they were being managed back in the game. So, I don't know. That's all I can say. Some really, really strange calls.
Well, that's savage.
Chris, you just mentioned
That's harsh.
the best time to throw in one of those little petty bitches is when you're winning. It sort of belittles the man, though, doesn't it? You're right on top and you go, oh, it was managed. What is the time? Just sit back and relax and smile and think
I
of,
think he's just trying to be a bit too subtle, don't you? He's just trying to see how far he could stretch them
Push that
without
little-
getting fined. He's probably got a little competition going on with the other
how
coaches
far can
there.
we go?
How far can you go before you get fined?
Because Ricky's managed to not be fined for 3 years, and Ricky does now.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he does. So
Is there a
Ricky,
chart down at Canberra?
Yeah, there is.
Yes.
So Ricky is probably managing how he can push because he was blaming Greenberg last year.
Yeah.
It's Greenberg's. I feel for the referees. They've got a tough job.
Yeah.
It's Greenberg he blames.
Right.
So that's how he's got away from being fined.
yeah.
I mean, what I heard there has been described by Peter V'landys as deplorable behaviour. And I guess what he's reacting to is that Ivan, barely conscious. So that is Ivan actually riled up.
Is that right? Is that what happened to the Tigers?
$20,000 fine. Yeah. Well, what about when he gave blew the kisses at the Tigers
Yeah,
fan
yeah,
and his
yeah.
under
That
7
was
kid?
animated, wasn't it?
That was just
Yeah.
shocking.
Yeah.
But hasn't also the Penrith chairman?
Yes, Dave O'Neill has waded into this with a tremendous suggestion.
Well, he's saying that he's calling for vulnerable coaches to be excused from press conference. Now, clearly, Ivan's
Well, give him
vulnerable.
24 hours
he's,
off.
He's blowing kisses. He's pointing to the scoreboard. He's suggesting they're being managed. This is a man who is, and his team's winning, and his team's on top of the ladder.
So
and
what's
his
the
team's won
motivation,
8
Denis?
straight. Well, he's vulnerable because again,
Oh, he's a vulnerable coach.
He's a vulnerable coach.
Hello,
Yeah.
now I'm hearing it all.
Well, they removed the captains from this pressure cooker situation. So now O'Neill is saying that the coaches should...
Because it's dirty.
Dirty
zone.
It's actually not part of the... Well,
Yeah.
it must be now part of the bubble, mustn't it?
It's clean zone. They have
It's a
seatbelts
clean
across
zone.
it.
Clean zone. So
But,
why would they not bring the captains back in again?
Yeah, well...
The captains were taken out a couple of years ago
Yeah, but why? I don't remember.
because they weren't contributing much.
Because they were vulnerable. But obviously, as you can hear from Ivan, emotions are running high.
Very.
So O'Neill's suggestion is you give them 24 hours licence and then they do the press conference.
Yeah.
The slightly unusual thing that was O'Neill recommended that they actually stay there for the 24 hours.
In the chair.
Which is what the bubble allows you to do. Because let's face it, where else is he
What
going
else
to
is he
go?
gonna do?
Well, maybe out to lunch.
Now, Chris, we did predict that eventually rugby league would get the better of Landis. He thought racing was tough. Nothing, and rugby league
He's
and the
starting
cracks.
right off the track now.
Yeah, the cracks are showing, and like any
I thought it was
good,
a rail run.
like any good headmaster, he's got to start going. Oh, the
Yeah.
cats are out of the bag.
Yeah.
How do I claw them all back in
Yeah,
again,
that's
and
right,
then
yeah.
give them a good whack and say, "Stay there." you know.
Well, they're already sort of earmarking his replacement, I believe. I think Andrew Demetria, who apparently was involved in some other sport for an administrative capacity, has been identified.
Yes, and of course the other enemy is Anastasia Palaszczuk, who's really been itching for a shot at this to take over anything at all. And she said, they're now in Queensland. I can, whatever decisions I make, I might shut the whole code down at some point.
Well, or maybe she wants to take it over.
Yeah.
Palaszczuk, we've established, isn't a Greek name, but maybe she's trying to wrest it away from the Greek
I think
mafia.
maybe they should get the ex-Manly players running Wentworth Park Dogs. There's resurgence in the dogs. So
Well, the dogs are going
from
through
the races, right?
Yes.
You got Volandi, so throw.
Whoa!
The front row is running the dogs.
Well,
the next Cronulla CEO.
Well, my
That's a
understanding is the
bone,
dogs is going through the roof right now.
It is, yeah.
And there is a market. There is a market being run for where they will be playing the AFL Grand Final. I would have thought a Rugby League AFL Dogs trifecta at Wentworth
Well,
Park.
if you
just
can go
about
that
get it
far,
done.
why not catching feral pigs that are greased? Why not
Every
go the
time
whole
they go
hog?
for an ad in the AFL, you can run a dog race, couldn't you?
Yeah, hello.
People at the ground.
Homebush is built for it. Right, so the cracks are appearing.
The cracks are appearing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean it's really around the fracturing of the bubble. And I mean, we obviously last week we saw Supercoach Wayne Bennett.
Yeah,
But I think you mentioned you've
well,
eaten
look,
there.
you know, Grappa in Leichhardt, and, you know, he's there for a reason, obviously, because he's well looked after. He's got $800,000 a year to play with, right?
Yes.
They're like, what, $38 for a starting price for a main meal, I think?
Well, the pasta apparently is more affordable, but I believe the ribeye goes for about 87.
87. Let me tell you, Chris, the gambari, the prawns, my God, that pasta's incredible. I don't blame him for going there.
gambari.
Sometimes it
He
is...
likes the gambari.
I mean,
I like
some of
it.
his fans have ice problems. He's got a prawn problem. Simple as that. Yeah, he can't resist. And there's only 2 or 3 places that do it really, really well. And, of course, Braith and Astor was sitting right near him. What are the chances?
Well, now, Greg,
Plot thickens.
are you a fan of Braith's commentary? Because a lot of people apparently aren't.
Not really.
Right, okay.
I think he's a bit bland.
Yeah,
okay.
Beige?
But he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, well, there you go.
Does
There's
he?
a little bit of
But
support.
he can
That's
send you to
something.
sleep, I think.
Right, because...
I'd take that as a word of support for Braith.
Yeah.
No one else has said that.
Land or not.
He's probably a better golfer.
Braith is going to put that in his...
I've seen him on the golf show. Quite a
Ah,
few times.
It might be a bit bland, but I know what I'm talking about.
Well, look,
That's the headline of his CV.
That'll be
right
his
there.
CV.
ET had his fishing. Went on to big things with fishing. So,
Eden
golf?
Husen did that.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Life after football,
Yeah,
golf.
yeah.
But look, I feel an Astor. He said, I didn't dob Wayne in. Now, he works for
did I
a
say
media...
Greek?
Yes, but
Yeah.
he works for a media organisation, Stephen. I mean, I would have thought it was the scoop of the year. I don't think Braith is
Sitting
doing
there,
his job.
you know, there's a Supercoach Wayne. Everybody knows who he is from top to bottom, you know, bar Western Australia. He's having prawns a la, you know, spaghetti.
Gambari, maybe it was
Cancom
scampi,
gambari.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole suite of meals. And you're going, you beauty, you know. But what did Wayne do? Did he slip him something under the table?
Ooh.
Brown paper bag.
Or a stern look, as only Wayne can give.
He might have given him some of the Gambari in a doggy bag.
Done, sold.
He
sold,
goes, "Oh,
yeah.
well."
Shut up, we're all in this together now, all right?
Your mate Paul Bongiorno, of course,
Yeah, just an idiot.
down in Illawarra Cafe. And
Well, Italian food, what are you going to say?
The Italian stallion, of course,
Yeah,
he's got to
yeah,
go
of
down there. He
course,
can't
yeah.
help himself.
can I ask, Greg, did you ever come up against Mitch Brennan?
No,
Playing for the Dragons?
No, but I did watch him. He was a flamboyant player.
Okay,
Flamboyant.
so
Well,
he,
they were different coloured boots, didn't he?
our show friend John Osborne sent this in that St George, before they were the Illawarra Dragons, had formed Stephen.
Yeah.
In the 1977,
Is that right?
Yes. In the 1977 pre-season, Mitch Brennan was coaxed by former coach Harry Barth to play for St George in a trial match at Grafton.
Who was Supercoach Harry Barth.
He was
Yeah,
the super
yeah,
coach.
yes, he
Never
was,
lost
yeah.
the grand final,
No.
right?
No.
Brennan played under the pseudonym Mickey Lane. Mickey Spillane was not available because he was still in contract
Don Lane was
negotiations
available.
with Brisbane South. So here's the sign of the times. He was fined $500.
For
And then
Is that how
signs
much
his
the
fake
dollar's
name.
gone up? Is that how much the dollar's gone up?
That's it.
CPI.
That was about 10
Jeez.
weeks' rent then.
I guess it would have been, yeah.
So,
But now it's Brisbane, isn't it?
yeah. Now, of course, Ricky commented saying, who doesn't want to go to the pub? You know,
Ricky loves going to the pub.
we love going to the pub. But sacrifice.
Did you say you love Ricky?
I do love Ricky.
Oh, yes!
This week I do. Yeah, it's hot and cold. Hot and cold. Yeah. There's a whole lot of factors appearing. You know, I think the joint mergers are fracturing down the middle. Mm-hmm. I think Mary's on the leave with the Cogra mob, staying with the Illawarra mob, and that's going to be decided upon this next week. Correct? Again, you know.
Is it possible that, given that they've got a selection committee for St George, given that Shane Flanagan is there in an assistant coach situation, would you designate which in the squad are Illawarra and which are St George, and he would just coach the Illawarras?
So Mary coaches the Illawarra.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
and
right.
Flano
And
coaches the
Flano
Dragon.
does the Dragons.
Yeah.
And Volandis,
No, the St. George players.
Volandis comes on board because he's happy to let a 17-year-old play. He's happy to flow up the rules. So
Yes.
he can
Yes.
go, oh, look, we'll let him back.
As long as rugby don't get him.
Yeah, we'll let him
yeah,
back.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Flano might go to
Yeah.
rugby, so we've got to let Flano coach. So Flano coaches the St. George Dragons.
Yeah, let's call them the Saints.
Mary calls them.
Saints Dragons, right?
Then Mary coaches the Illawarra Dragons.
Dragons, yes. Yeah.
And then they meet every Saturday at Cogra.
Right. And talking about Nastaskas, the art dealer, the mysterious art dealer, I found out he started selling cars.
Nasiski.
Yeah, Nastiski.
yeah.
And then property, and then Brett Whiteley.
Are you saying that Nick Politis started out as an art dealer?
Went the other way around.
Who can tell? Multiple stories here. So, of course, the Tigers fracturing. What can I say?
So Tigers chairman Lee Hadjipatelis, which I
Can you say that again?
Hadjipatelis.
That's Greek, right?
Yes, I hazard as a guess is Greek. He actually issued an apology to the fans after our 44-4 loss to the Newcastle Knights, and he apologised for the performance on the field. Well, Lee, as a Tigers fan, I don't think just apologising for last Saturday is enough. I've got a few suggestions.
Do you have a list?
Yeah, Barry O'Farrell, Marina Go. The loss of the big four, with the
Are you-
exception of Luke Brooks.
Can I just say, so are you wanting the Tigers to apologise for the bottle of Grange and everything and the lockout? Is that, or you're not taking?
Yes, exactly.
I would like that, yes.
I'd like an apology for the lockout. I want an apology for Corabetti.
Yes.
I want an apology for Pappenhausen. I want an apology for
Tedesco.
Aaron Woods?
Yeah.
Moses?
Well, I did say, the loss of the big four, with the exception of Brooksy, who, as Mick Potter said today, is the type of kid you'd want to go to war in.
Is that?
Yeah.
To war with.
Yeah.
In? Not in.
Yeah.
With.
Yeah, I think he's talking about a video game war, to be honest. But I don't think it's enough. And if I was already upset when I woke up to the news this morning that former Test cricket captain Michael Clarke had been offered a directorship and refused it.
Yeah, and you're saying the reason being it's a cheap shot, really, isn't it? The
I'm
reason
stumped
being is
about that one.
He's got a big audience in India, being an Australian cricketer, correct?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you've caught him on the Big Sports Breakfast, but it's obviously not for his media work.
No.
They don't have ratings on that show, do they?
No. They're in that consolidated box. Yeah, pretty much like I think with
Like
FBI.
well, it's only because they're not commercial, Chris.
So would they think about getting, what's his name from the second two he's had? Mike Whitney. Would they think about getting Mike Whitney on the board? Or think about getting Brett Lee? Brett Lee's big in India.
Did you
Brett
see
Lee
Whitney?
on the-
Lee's
yeah,
big in
A
India.
few songs at half time.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you see Whitney on the Matty John show on the weekend?
Damn, I missed that, did I?
He and Junior
Did he
Pierce, the Big Hitters band, they've merged.
Oh, yeah.
So they're on the circuit.
So Mike Whitney is playing with Junior Pierce.
Yeah, Whitney looks his age, I'll have to say that. But the idea
Which
that...
circuit are you talking about, by the way?
Well, when it reopens.
Okay, I'm like-
Can you imagine going to the Oxford Arts Factory, paying $70 to
yeah.
sit socially isolated
yeah.
and watch Mike Whitney and Junior Pierce on stage?
With a little candle on your table.
Well, the DMAs, did you see this? The DMAs have done this in Lime Cordiale, but the DMAs played the other day, but it was a 47-minute set.
Yeah.
And so the audience was transfixed, apparently, loving the fact they're enjoying live music.
Yeah.
When they wrapped up at the 47 mark, they booed them.
That's it.
Wow.
Why
Yeah.
that limit?
Because they had to satisfy the demand, they did 16 shows.
Gotcha.
So they were
okay.
doing
In the one
shows
day?
on the hour.
So it's not a case of how much the air conditioning can, remove the toxins.
No.
Okay.
No. It means that now everyone's the hardest working
given
person in
your-
show business.
Yes, James Brown's gone.
Yes.
Now, given that you lost tremendously, who was the saddest figure? Because I've got a picture of Dewey here.
Yep.
Dewey, he was the man.
Yeah, I mean,
signify the loss.
Yeah, I mean, people were wanting to attribute the tragedy in Lebanon as to what was upsetting Adam, and that is awful. But pretty much he was owning the loss. He's a West Tigers junior, and he basically was crying because he's not getting an apology from Lee Hadjipatelis for Barry O'Farrell, Marina Go, Michael Clarke. By the way, I don't think it's such a bad idea if we tap into the Indian market, like the emerging tiger of the Asian economy.
Yes. Could I suggest that the reason that it was not was there's an action wear, leisure wear, women's wear label called PE. Pip Edwards. Now, just as it happens, Pip Edwards is a very glamorous Eastern Suburbs girl who is now attached to Michael Clarke. And she would have gone, give me the job of rebranding your look, your jumper, everything right down to the socks, the underpants, the mouth guard, the colours, the lot. And they said no.
Right, well, you can see Greg is wearing a magnificently
Magnificent.
themed manly Warringah.
If PE could come
top.
up with that, we'd be wearing it. Yeah.
And obviously I've got this beautifully sculpted jet shirt, but the Tigers wear is pretty scrappy.
Yeah.
But
You think PE would improve it?
They should have a bigger magpie on it.
Well,
Bigger There you go.
I'm going to get the stripe here.
No.
That's another thing I need an apology for. But I
The
think.
Magpie Tiger
But I think if they do form the relationship with, thank you very much, Dennis. If they do form the relationship with India, Pip Edwards does the design.
Yeah.
I can see the new
Mate, you've got a
team
huge market there.
will relocate. Will be called the Bengal Lancers, with all due respect to your father as a touch judge.
Right.
And I've already got the.
That's okay. I can see that now.
that's fantastic.
How good is that?
So
Now-
you wouldn't? It's definitely Bengal Lancers, not Bengal Tigers. Just the straight up Lancers.
I think
they-
we're rugby league.
They actually have tigers in India.
You wouldn't believe it.
I
There
like
was
that.
actually an Indian rugby league team played this year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Up in Queensland, I think they played. I forget who they played against, but they've got a team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. They're like Philippines and all that. I started a Philippines rugby league team on Facebook.
How do we miss this, Chris?
Oh,
Yeah, it's got a few of them.
And
Steve Mascot didn't,
It's
is
a true
it?
story.
can you talent identify for us, Greg? Can we use a couple over at Campbelltown? That's what I'm wanting to hear. A couple of these boys.
Yeah, I reckon you could. Yeah.
How did Japan tell us? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Now, he goes on to quote, as a chair, I feel an obligation and a responsibility to our fans and members to provide them a product of which they can be proud. We would all have been disappointed with Saturday night's effort. I don't think there'll be anyone that could say otherwise. There's no point in sugarcoating it. No answer.
No answer.
We'll be back in just a moment with Quiet Australia. Fire up here to find some more answers here to failing rugby league teams. See ya.
Yeah, just a report on Michael Cheekham, the Tigers' back row. He's in much better shape. He is in an ambulance on his way to hospital. That's just because he had seizures, but they say he's in much better shape.
Excellent news. Thank you, Brad.
Welcome back. We're not so quiet anymore. We've had a bit of a warm-up. We've got out some of the demons and the cobwebs, and we're back here with Greg Cross, Dennis Cunningham. What's your name again?
Chris Gale.
The other guy.
I'm the other guy.
The other guy, right, and myself, Stephen Ferris. No, he's the main guy here. Don't worry about that. And we're talking about the big stories in rugby league. Don't you worry about that. Greg, you played for Manly Warringah. 78, 79, roughly?
I played from 75 to 80.
Okay, tell us about how you got into it.
What happened was my old man said I wouldn't make it. I played in the B grade grand final, scored a few tries against some of the guys. So
You said you wouldn't make it.
he said I couldn't make it, so I went down and tried out and got myself fit. But I borrowed my brother's boots. So
Yeah.
I was at teachers' college, couldn't afford a pair of boots, and they were bright green, and they were about a couple of sizes too big for me. So I had newspaper in it anyway. So I tried out, and no one gave me a chance. We used to run about 10 kilometre road runs, and I got myself pretty fit. And anyway, I went okay in the trials, and the selector, after when they graded me, said, anyone can play in those boots, it's got to be all right.
That's a
So it got
winner.
me.
There you go.
So then I made it. Yeah, I think the dad set me out a challenge. So
Right.
yeah. So
And what did you say back to him?
yeah.
Once you're in, what did you say to him?
I gave him a few.
Good on you.
A few comebacks. Yeah.
And how old were you then?
I was about 23. Yeah.
23, yeah, okay.
21, 22.
And of course, during that period, you were a teacher?
Yeah, I was a teacher. Yes,
Okay.
a primary school teacher.
Whereabouts?
Yes. At Manly West.
Right, man.
There's no suburb called Manly West, but there's a school there.
There's a school there.
Right across from a graveyard.
Because as soon as you go west, you go up the hill, and then it's like National Park and stuff, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you just go down to Manly, right near Manly Golf Course there. Yeah.
Manly West.
I remember a child hadn't done the homework once and put some flowers from the graveyard on my desk. So I got let her off homework for a few
I
weeks.
was going to say,
after
got
that.
an A+, right? And what position did you play, Greg?
I ended up playing hooker in reserve grade.
Did you win any against the feed?
Yeah, because you have to have your legs through the other hooker's feet.
Yes.
Or sometimes you let it, like Neil Whittaker from Balmain, you let him win the ball because he had long legs and try and steal it from him.
Long legs. Yeah. Still studs.
yeah.
Still studs. Yeah.
But then if
Dangerous
you try
place to
too
be
many
then.
tricks, someone would grab you under the collar and pull you away. So
Yeah.
it was. At one time I come on in first grade, I had to hold match curly chop against Newtown. You know that Bill Noonan? Yeah, I was a bit out of my depth as a front rower.
Now, Manly Warringah, of course, known to be the most hated team, but it's not true anymore, is it? They're not the most hated.
everyone loves us.
Everyone loves
Yeah.
it. I think it's
Yeah.
that old working class attitude still there, the grunt, the grit, et cetera.
Yeah, that's right. Des has given that to the side. And Brookvale used to be a fibro town. But then when we played West, they called us the Silvertails. It was quite funny because Max Crouch lived in
That
a
was a Roy
fibro
Masters
house.
masterstroke, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Roy Masterstroke.
Roy Masterstroke.
Well,
Simple.
we had the other side of the conflict on last week. Mick Lebinskas, of course,
Yes.
to play for Western Suburbs. But you mentioned you played in what was known as the Battle of Brookvale.
Oh, yeah, I ended up playing at Lidcombe Oval. I was sitting on the bench for the first grade, and I could hear the West players slapping each other. If I come
You
on
could
from
hear
the
that,
reserve
Tommy
grade.
Rodonigus.
We could hear that going on anyway. I said, "Oh, it's going to be on," and then I just sat back in the the deck chair watching the first grade. You know, there's only two guys went on. So
Having a cocktail.
Yeah. Anyway, well, sometimes you sneak a beer in after the game. Hopefully, anyway, what happened was. I said to my mate, I hope we don't get on here. And next minute, there's Steve Knight and all going on. Next minute, they said, you're on. Last 20 minutes. So I never run so fast in my life.
Wow. so I think they often on the Fox shows, there was a head high, wasn't there?
Yes, right, yeah.
And that was who on who?
Oh, I think it was Steve Knight on Boydie, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. He leaves the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all those West guys came to Manly after that. Boyd, Dorothy.
Just like they bought the South Sydney team in 71. That's right.
That was Manly's policy.
That was their go.
That was Manly's go.
If you lose, you buy everyone else. I played with all 6 internationals in reserve grade.
And you know, they were
Chris Walker, John Gray.
They were ahead of their time, really, weren't they? They were ahead of their time.
They were the Roosters.
that's when
they were
they
the
were
Roosters of the 70s.
Yeah.
And was there a simpatico with the hookers, or was Max Krilich undermining you the whole time, hiding?
Everyone's undermining each other.
Yeah, right. That'd be right.
Yeah, that's right. And Ray Brown, when he came there, it was quite fierce when you practice scrums against them.
They're big names that you were going in competition with.
That's what I used to play against, like in reserve grade, of like Piggins and all those guys, Mountier and all those first graders.
Elwyn Walters.
But the best one was the Amco Cup. You went up and played against Johnny Lang one night up there.
Johnny Lang.
Yeah.
Any of the current coaches? Were you playing against them at all?
Oh yeah, probably.
You know, the one
Would
you
have been a bit young, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I reckon now.
Yeah,
the coaches
probably
are
a bit young now.
And Wayne
Yeah.
Bennett would have been still playing.
Wayne Bennett was playing in the
But he would have
Brisbane
been the Brisbane
competition.
comp.
Yes,
gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you play with Johnny Gibbs?
Yeah, played with Johnny Gibbs.
Very
Yeah.
Was he at that? Was he at that? The West one with the slapping? Was that the one?
Yeah, I think he was on first grade that day. Yeah, but he was too. When he was playing the lower grades, he was just too good. No one could work out what he was doing. He's so brilliant.
Mercurial. He was mercurial.
But there was a
'Cause
time
Johnny's
when he
still-
was listening to the races when the first grade was on.
And this is before Chinese doping came in, right?
What's that?
No queries about doping, was there?
No.
And what's happened to him now, Gibbsy?
Johnny? Oh, he's working for the ABC.
Yeah.
ABC, there you go.
No wonder you don't know.
And he's also
He was a school teacher at Mona Vale, and the groundsman at the school was Fatty Vorton.
Is that right?
Well, I think he's Fatty's
Stories.
manager, and he also
Yes.
he still
They're good
has
friends.
Tommy Rodonicus's teeth marks in his nose from
That
his
was
debut.
a famous story because Tommy was seen in Rugby League Week with vampire fangs on and cloak.
Phantom biter.
Yeah, I think he got a few weeks for that.
Right.
And I was going to say, that day at Lidcombe, was it a cauldron?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was I saw a guy in the crowd with a fibro hat. And I was watching that, the Fibros of Silvertail documentary.
yeah.
There was, and
What
he
do
was
you-
actually a pharmacist from Lidcombe.
What do you
So
miss?
he's breathing like asbestos while the game was on.
Fantastic.
It was wonderful.
What do you miss
atmosphere.
from those days that
Yeah.
have gone out of rugby league?
Yeah, that's
what else?
right.
What else do you miss?
Oh,
rules
I missed the
and
corner
behaviour.
post, and I'll tell you why.
Missed the
Because-
corner post?
Yeah, you know why? Because I used to live 200 metres from Brookie Oval, so
Yes.
just before full time, all the kids,
Yeah.
my street,
Yeah.
you
go
hang
pitch
around
it.
the corner post,
get
and
the
you try to
post.
get your front yard with the corner post intact. Anyway, one day I took off, got the corner post. So Frank, I get off the ground, you kids, and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so I got I had a bit of a shortcut. I knew how to get under the fence, at Brookie Oval. So I got under
You
the
burrowed
fence.
yourself, yeah.
I got under the fence, took off, but the kids caught me in the front yard. I was crash tackled by 20 kids, and I got to come in the house without that much of a.
Can I just say, just as a marketing exercise, at the end of every game, you know when they used to have the kids on?
Yeah.
Just go, when the bell goes, kids, we're going to put the corner post in, brand new corner post, and on you come. And they just go crazy for him.
But we had a character, Freddie Jones. We couldn't understand what he was saying because he lost most of his teeth playing some games, and he had these new dentures, and we couldn't understand him. And he told us to run to McKillop Park, which is the hardboard diggers now called the Mounties Club.
Right.
And we all ran to Curl Park, which was about 5 kilometres away. So when we came back, he got the train. He said, "Run him into the ground." So the sprint coach ran us.
Couldn't know where to go. Can I just go back to this corner post thing? I'm quite a naive person.
Yes.
I would have thought the code would be that if you got the post and you'd actually cleared the fence of the
honour.
ground.
There's
It's yours.
It's yours, isn't
It's
it?
on it. No, kids.
Clearly not.
No.
Not in Manly. Dog eat dog in Manly.
Yeah,
it's a
dog eat
brutal
dog.
Oh,
place.
yes, that's right.
So is this so the coach with the false teeth? Is that what started the tradition, which led to Des Hasler, who mumbles and no one
Yeah,
can
I
understand
think
him?
there's been a lot of mumbling going on that ground. Ray Ritchie, my uncle, he was a cab driver, and he would froth at the mouth when he got angry. And also, He was one, did so much swearing one day that a lady came from the grandstand, opened the door and told him off.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get into a dressing room now, could you?
No, and were you in that?
Oh, certainly not now.
There was that concern, I guess. Now,
Yeah.
People are only allowed to run on the ground and get fined and suspended for the rest of their lives and banned
Particularly
from the
nude,
ground.
Kris.
But do you remember that period where they decided to stop the clock with 5 minutes to go?
That's right, yes.
On the assumption that no one would be capable of going, well, click. And so the idea was that people would be uncertain when the game would finish, and that would somehow discourage them from running on the
Is that
field.
what it was for?
That's what
I thought it was for the players.
No. No, it wasn't to add mystery and excitement to the game.
So Frank Hyde could get out of the ground pretty quickly,
And your brother Peter played for North Sydney?
Yeah, he played for North Sydney. He has the honour of being the first footballer sent to the sin bin in first grade.
That is a huge honour. That's a Trivial Pursuit question right there.
When I was, I tried to be a referee for a while. Dad encouraged me, but I lasted 2 games, and the second game I sent my brother off.
Well,
Why did you not last, Greg?
You were too
Because
honest?
I sent my brother off. I was warned not to go back on the referee again.
Now, generally speaking, I mean, I've come across a few referees. Their personalities sort of get withdrawn. They become a bit sort of
Yes, they do.
less colourful because they get so
Yes.
many barbs and attacks, and they're very
That's
careful
right.
about how they go. Is that happened to your father?
Oh, no, he loved it. He'd, Sunday mornings at 7 o'clock, he'd start warming up the whistle.
Yes.
He'd go into 3 different pitches with it. He'd start off with a, for the knock-on, and then he'd build up for the full-time one. That was his best one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had all his hand movements.
Yeah.
this
And
is
then
method.
he'd
This is
pull
pure
us out of
method.
bed, and then he'd start running up and down the hallway. And then while Mum was ironing his laces,
What about your mother would iron the laces?
she would iron the laces. Yeah, the laces were about 2 metres long.
Wow. And
And
why
they'd
would
be-
she iron them? Just to make them look sparkly?
Oh, he had to look the best.
At the best, sharp.
Yeah, it was all about
I
sharp.
remember the collar up. That was
Yeah,
a
the
Cole
starched
Pierce
collar. Yeah,
starched collar.
And the
right.
shorts were also starched.
Oh, my
So we
goodness.
need to
I
start.
wonder why he couldn't break into a sprint half the time.
Yes. And tell me about the song. He sang a song, is that right?
Yeah, all
Can
I
you
want
do
to
it?
be is a first grade referee, refereeing at the SCG. That was his. That was
Katy
his.
Perry style.
Yeah.
Which he got to do 7 times, I believe.
Yes, he
Yes,
did.
and he was touch judge for internationals, test matches.
Yeah, in New Zealand, and I've got him on Fox Sports the other week. I've got him permanently on the TV.
Yeah, right.
And he used to be a race between him and the other touch judge. Like they'd look at each other, so you could get to the other end first.
Yeah.
After the
Right,
it
was a race. It was a race with 20 because he used to do sprints. He used to do 50-metre sprints. There was a big badge of honour. You couldn't be left behind by the other touch judge.
Now, I know it's a great scab, though, that when for whatever reasons, North Sydney came to combine with Manly Warringah, then
Yes.
the Central Coast Bears, etc.
Yes.
And it all fell apart shamefully, I think. There was a lot of
I
anger, a
think
lot
the
of bitterness.
Bears were a great club, and I think was it Neil Whittaker who put them out. I think he was.
Well, he was the first.
he was put into a corner
he
by
was the
Super
first
League.
CEO of the NRL. That is true. Yes,
but
and
I think they had an unfortunate time with their stadium at Gosford. They built that, but I think it went over.
It went way over because
budget,
it was a really wet year. So
That's
it was
right,
actually
that's
delayed
right.
by about
Yeah,
6 months. So it's
that's
supposed to
right.
have a grand opening in like March.
Yes.
And the Central Coast, the Northern Eagles were going to play there.
Northern Eagles, yeah.
But then, because of rain, it got pushed back. They couldn't play there that season. North Sydney Oval had said, North Sydney Council said, bugger you guys, you can't come back here because we've reassigned it. So the Northern Eagles had to play out of Brookvale, not Central Coast, and then the club went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And
That's
so the
right.
Manly has just gone, we don't even need to put the knife in their back, we'll just let them
Just
lie
take
down,
it.
we'll jump up
Hey,
and take the...
Can I just say, I grew up originally at Clearville, up at the Pittwater.
Did you?
Yeah. And,
There you go.
and when I went to the cricket ground, it was like the Dragons were winning. They're my team.
This is last century, isn't it?
so the Dragons kind of,
Yes, it is.
if you look at those 3 joint ventures, they appeal to certain types of personalities, right? Like
I don't know about that.
the St George Illawarra is like Germany annexing Sudetenland, something
That's
like
right,
that,
yeah, that's
right?
right, totally.
Tigers and Magpies, 2
You
groups.
can only do that if you're powerful, Chris.
Tigers and Magpies, 2 groups of extreme weakness. The underdog, that appeals to me, right?
Yes.
But your brother Peter playing for North Sydney, and you're clearly a Manly household. What was the reception from your family when he pulled on the black and red of North
Oh,
Sydney?
we loved it. Yeah, we're quite supportive of him. I go and watch all his games, and
It seems unusual because the Northern Eagles.
Was some pity involved in that?
They had a
won
good
since-
year. They had Ron Willie there when he was there, and they made the semis.
Oh, right.
Ron Willie used to say, like, the first scrum, it's on. That was his tactics from every game, apparently.
Radonica's approach, but the Northern Eagles was two clubs that hated each other. Surely, wasn't it? And that was fundamentally.
Oh, they were all
what was
good
wrong
friends
with it.
after the game, but there was a rivalry during the game. But there was a great atmosphere at North Sydney Oval. For example, we played in the pre-season once, and we came on at 6 o'clock. The game at 6 o'clock
in the evening.
Jeff Boycott was still batting.
In the morning,
99 not out.
Okay,
and we ran on the ground at 6:30.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was still batting all day for 99 months and grade cricket.
So you had to wait for the cricket to finish.
Yeah,
before
then we
you could
went
run
on.
What a great ticket!
No one ran anywhere near the middle of the oval. Like there was a lot of breaks in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
But that was the sort of character. Yeah, that was. They got wonderful supporters. It's still, if you put them back tomorrow, they'd still get 15 grand.
I went to North Sydney Oval. I've been there several times to watch Women's Big Bash. Yeah. And whenever there's a game at North Sydney Oval, cricket, rugby, no matter what, there will be a Bears hat. There will be a Bears t-shirt, no matter what.
The Women's State of Origin was played there, the first State of Origin between New South Wales and Queensland on Friday night, and you couldn't get a pie because it was that packed. It was absolutely sensational.
And there was heaps of Bears fans with Bears caps.
Absolutely
and Bears
sensational.
There was a pub across the road from the ground where everyone used to go. Yeah, that was a big place.
There was a wine bar up the road. I remember. That's more my style. But if I could say, as a kid growing up,
Stoned Crow.
I don't remember ever seeing a sea eagle. It was always a sea gull. Now we've thought about this, haven't we, Chris?
No, it turns out the sea eagle is a real creature. I thought it was mythical.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, but it's actually real.
So there's the white-bellied sea eagle, and if you Google sea eagle cam, there's actually a pair nesting in Homebush at the moment.
Homebush, it's in a nest.
How do you know this? How do you know this?
There's the osprey, which is
there's a live cam on it. Yeah, you're
and
right.
the beautiful thing about the osprey is an eagle. It's a fish. It's also called a fish eagle.
No, I get all that, but how do you know about it?
Because I'm a bird nerd. But
It's on the ABC now, sir.
The osprey, there's an osprey nest. They were endangered. There's 25 breeding pairs in New South Wales.
Yeah.
One breeding pair was in Gosford, and it's on the light tower at Gosford Stadium. They've actually built an osprey nest there.
We're going to need a new podcast.
However, the Manly Ringer seagull that you
Dennis is
see,
gonna need a new one.
the Manly Ringer seagull that you see is actually not a seagull.
Oh, here we go.
The maroon and white, it's a Brahminy kite. It's a fishing eagle. It's a Brahminy kite. It's a small falcon. So that their logo is actually a Brahminy kite, not a sea eagle.
So if anyone is still listening, before we go to the break, Greg, I mean, you were on the bench for the 1978 grand final against Cronulla Sharks, who were seeking their first ever premiership. That game ended in a draw, and there was a replay Tuesday afternoon.
That's right, yes.
You were on the bench again for that?
I was on that. I was told to warm up at half time, but unfortunately at the end of the game I was still warming up. But at least he gave me a medal,
And we will post on our Facebook page a picture of us, and you'll be in the back. No, you'll be there front and centre with the premiership medal, because that's incredibly exciting. I've never been this close to a premiership medal.
No.
Well, I hate to tell you it's made out of bronze.
That'll do us.
That Daddy sitting up there. What's this? Are they gherkins? Powerade and gherkin. Is that some kind of peptide or something?
Okay, we're back. Hello, Greg Cross, Manly Ringer's greatest ever, and Dennis Carnahan, the song man for Lifetime Eternity, and Chris Gale. He's
Thank you for
everywhere.
remembering my name, Stephen.
I'm now not sure who knows more information,
You're the
Dennis
fall guy,
Carnahan or Chris Gale. Yeah.
On the Friday radio show, I am the new guy, Greg, so I am the Brian Johnson of Fire.
It's going to take 20 years at least, Chris, if we got it in us.
Yeah.
I'm going to say...
to a country town, you never get accepted.
I'm going to say here, pretty up front. Look, we all have role models, men, women, whatever, superheroes, etc. When we're growing up as kids. Two of mine that I did. Frank Sinatra is a role model of mine, and I found out over the years that Frank Sinatra
was a gangster.
I know that's odd for a kid, but there you go. It was a gangster, exactly, with a voice. But he was notoriously obsessed by cleanliness, and he would change his clothes and have showers at least 4 times a day. Literally, he was, and of course, he had the money to do it. The umpteen suits and shirts and ties and
wouldn't do in a drought, would he?
No, he would not, and that's why he's so was against the grain when, of course, the hippies took over. Just could not relate at all because of cleanliness and order, pants, tight, waist jacket, the whole bit. Number one.
Yep.
Okay. Now that sort of set me on a path. It's like, I wonder what. And my father was a fairly sort of fastidious. Was that the right word? No.
Fastidious.
Fastidious man in the morning. The right shade, the clean, the look, the tie, the whole bit. The creases, etc. So we've been approached, Chris, because
did he iron his shoelaces? Did he iron his shoelaces?
He did not iron his shoelaces.
Not that fastidious.
String tie, I think.
Not quite as fastidious.
No.
And was he your second hero?
He was my second hero.
Right.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra first.
Nice.
Well, let's switch it. Let's switch it. Come on, Dad was first. Frank Sinatra second. Yeah, there we go. Now I've got it all
What
lined
about
up.
Dean Martin? one of the rat
No, I thought Dean.
too
I
messy.
didn't like the fact he played the clown. I liked it straight.
Yeah.
You know, I know Dean was funnier. Frank was never funny. He doesn't need funny
No.
with that voice. He was powerful, you know.
Yeah, did it his way.
Anyway, apparently we're not so powerful because fire up the Quiet Australian. We're on death's doorstep.
Yeah.
We're about to be knocked out of the park unless we can find someone to help us pay for this damn show, right?
That's right.
Now, I got a box in the mail. Said box, Manscaped. I opened it up.
Manscaped.
Yeah,
Wow.
it says, your balls will thank you. Now, that's a sell. That's 1 point. That's not its only selling point. I
I'm
think
sold.
I think they've
sold.
undersold themselves by selling 1 point only, or 2 points, I should say. But nonetheless, this is an all-coverage outfit service for your body, mainly for hair removal, but also for cleanliness as well. Would you like to add any more about some of the details in this, Kris? Because I know, for example, it's got this beautiful razor.
That's the lawnmower 3.0, Stephen.
Yeah.
It is the, dare I say, cutting
Victor.
edge
Yeah.
in male personal grooming.
Yep.
And it's got a focus, and it tends to be on, Dennis, what you refer to
Nethers.
based on your experience in the nether regions. You
Nether
might talk us
regions.
through
Can I just say
your
that
need for this product.
One of their products is the crop mop, which is an easy wipe during the day if you're getting a bit hot and sweaty.
If you've got a bit of what it's called compost nuts, where you have a bit of No, I did have an incident where there was a young lady who said she would not be approaching the vicinity of my nether region unless, given how unruly and messy it
Now,
was.
given how much you were hanging out.
so to speak.
And so she made the recommendation that I should perhaps trim
Trim a little
that
bit. Yeah,
jungle.
yeah.
Now, I had no equipment to do this, so I
right.
used a razor.
Oh,
And it's a bit and some scissors, and it was a little bit complicated, and there was some blood involved. But the main issue with the razor, particularly at the top of the thighs, is you're prone to infections. And I got a fungal infection in my skin that went down, and it looked like I had a big red butterfly in my inner thighs. Now, next time I saw the young lady, I was way too embarrassed to do anything, so I kept the trousers on, and she then went to Scotland. So I never saw her again. So nothing happened.
So, Dennis, if you'd had the lawnmower 3.0, you would have been...
Could have turned your life around.
Exactly.
And what would I have had under my kilt?
we live.
Gentle, baby soft skin.
So Stephen, Dennis, Greg,
We live in sophisticated times.
I was so excited by this product.
Yeah.
Now, look, I've been in a relationship for 25 years, and I think we can all identify that you need something to occasionally,
Right now, she's sitting there going, God, no.
occasionally spice things up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we tried ballroom dancing a few years ago, but there's just that
What
many.
about tango?
That's right.
And now you've got ball wipes to help you ballroom
But there's
dancing.
only that much foxtrotting and cha-chaing you're doing. So me and my partner fired up and it's got a beautiful little charge unit. We fired up the lawnmower 3.0 last night. And let me tell you, she's an artist. And she's sculpting and...
On you.
Yes, it's very, very comfortable, very, very relaxed and easy.
If you've seen
We
rugby,
have cameras. If
if you've
No
seen
social distancing.
rugby league hairstyles recently, you'll know that manscaping is crucial.
That's right.
For the hair.
You know, whether you're going for
Yeah.
the Jai Arrow,
The mullet. The mullet.
Don Mattingly,
Or a
Yeah,
simple
yeah,
side
yeah.
part.
Connie Hurrell is now advertising face masks.
Yeah.
So my partner did some sculpting and manscaping, and it's an experience that I can recommend. The ball wipe was a tremendous way to put a red underline under the
So finish it
experience. Just to give you a
full
little
stop.
Just
a
to
full
give you
stop, maybe.
a little bit of technical information
Please, Kris.
to encourage you to go to the website, which is manscaped.com.
Yes.
So there's a D on the end of
Yeah,
Manscaped.
the 3.0,
Post-tense.
the lawnmower, has
Past
been
tense.
redesigned after 18 months, and it's produced the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Third generation, cutting edge ceramic blade, so you're less likely to.
It's very delicate skin, and I have had moments down there where you get a little nick on that skin. It's quite unpleasant.
I guarantee you that the razor was not ceramic bladed, correct?
It certainly wasn't.
Battery lasts up for 90 minutes. I mean, we had a sort of like a 10-minute escaping yesterday, but there was room for
Be
more.
new age sensitive guys. You
Very
know,
much.
it's going to work, isn't it?
You can groom in the shower.
Can you?
That's a big plus.
And here's, I think, the most important thing. They have an LED light which illuminates the grooming area for a closer and more precise trim.
Yeah.
So if you get onto the website, manscaped.com, you can get the lawnmower 3.0 on its own. You can get the luxury pack with the deodorants and the wipes. 20% off.
Yes.
If
If you simply quote the product code and free shipping, 20% off
20%,
and free show.
yeah.
Have a guess what the code is?
Fire up.
You got it.
And can I say, I'm on the grapevine. I'm hearing that Sonny Bill is endorsing this immensely because he's locked away in luxury boutique, Harbour View apartment with food delivered, gym, etc. And this is the last thing they didn't deliver to his doorstep. Loving it.
So he's got 4 hours for training, which he's credited his wife for providing that freedom.
Yeah.
Obviously, deeply religious man, so there's time for worship. The kids need entertaining, so he's dancing with the kids. But if you go to the...
He's spending time with the kids.
If you go to the Telegraph, you'll actually see Sonny Bill's diary that's been detailed.
So how long?
And there is 30 minutes other. He's manscaping.
Well, the battery lasts 90. That's 3 days worth.
Might get another season out of him.
Up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Now, that's commitment as well. Kris, look, there's a couple of things I want to say. They've teamed up with Testicular Cancer, the organisation that's a not-for-profit.
Correct.
So they've got men's best interests at heart. And there have been some facts, I believe. If I could just say one last thing here, that apparently they've done a little bit of a survey with the ladies, and the ladies say... When it comes to
have you got percentages there?
Yes, women who think bad grooming is a major turn-off, 85%.
I can confirm
I'd
that.
go with that, yeah. Cary Grant, he was the other one who was an immense groomer.
Can I do my Cary Grant?
Yes.
Please.
Judy.
Wow.
Now, 80% of women think men should manscape below the belt.
Yes.
So that's a pretty straight-up
That's
question.
what we were focusing on last night.
And 89% of men think good grooming is essential to their professional success. Didn't need us say anymore.
And can I just say that the man-on-man numbers, those percentages are even higher. That would be my understanding of the situation.
Yeah, and really, this is what I think AFL is sneaking in along with other sports, is that the little touch of the genitals is coming into play as a focus point. It's just it's just softening you up for this cell, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just copying rugby league. It's copying Paul Gallen reefing his hands down Josh Hodgson-Shorts or Aidan Caesar.
Joshy Reynolds.
Tickle from Joshy Reynolds.
I think
Rod Reddy from the old days.
Yes, Robert, you know all about that, Greg. Yeah, there's always someone, isn't there? And it now turns out that the modern stuff is just product placement.
Yeah, and now they're not saying cop this, is saying, have you manscaped?
That's correct. It's a gentle reminder.
And I think that'll be it.
I'm going to say one more thing about that manscaping device. If you get a steel bowl, like maybe you've got a salad bowl that's made of steel, and you get that and you put the edge on the steel bowl and go
Right
around it, if you go around it, you get the sound effect. That's how they made this sound effect for the pod races in Star Wars.
Wow.
So, Dennis, I think the next time we'll be talking about this product, and we hope there is a next time, you'll be talking about your experiences. Remember, manscaped.com, 20% off all product offerings and free shipping if you quote the product code
Fire up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what we need you to do is to get hold of that product. And I know, Greg, you're going to race out and do exactly that.
Oh, yeah.
And we want everyone who is downloading the show to encourage their friends to sign up, subscribe to the podcast. That's really, really important. And as they say on every podcast you listen to, if you write a review, apparently that's a really good thing. And we've had very nice reviews, and we'd like more of them.
Yeah.
But get your friends to subscribe and get your mates to Manscaped.
Good news, I just got a phone call.
Yes.
Well, I was off air. Kerry-Ann Kinley's going to join us next week to Spruik as well.
Terrific.
That'd be great.
What about Natasha Barling and Tim
Got a
Bailey?
bit of time on their hands now. Greg, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your rugby league stories. We'll put the photo of you with the medal on Facebook, and
Thank you.
And thank you to all your family for what they've done for the great game that we call
thanks
your
for what
game.
you guys are doing for the game. It's a great, it's a really great podcast, and listening to your show for a number of years. And
Yeah, I think David
still
Gallup would
trying to find
disagree.
that Taramara rugby league team with the
bin chickens.
in
The
it.
bin chickens, yes.
So that's your development club.
Yeah. We'll get them out there soon.
I believe
Thank
there's a
you for
battle
having
too
me
going
on.
between the bush turkey and the bin chicken as to the urban environment now.
That's right.
Thank you, everybody. See ya.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cause I'm all fired up and lonesome. I got a chip on my shoulder, and I'm acting just a little too tough.